Welcome, listeners, to the Dark Space Station. Hey, Dark Space Station fans! If you've liked what you've seen so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It's a big thing to ask on my part, but it really does help out the algorithm to know you'd like to see more. Plus, also don't forget to drop a comment below. I'd really like to hear from you. And now, let's get on with today's story. The mining platform rigs, located within the asteroid belt, were old and cumbersome. They had been seen as an easy money opportunity upon their first construction, yet the reality had been far from the truth. Cramped living conditions, engineers working in bays of extreme heat due to the air conditioning units constantly malfunctioning, tools which were either deemed inadequate for the tasks at hand or constantly breaking, were all too commonplace amongst the rigs, leaving the engineers to jerry-rig their own equipment or design and build their own gear by hand. However, if word ever got back to Earth due to an incident, the likelihood would be a total loss of pay. The mines weren't anything to write home about as well. Long hours, slaving away against rock and mineral deposits which were either too cumbersome to safely transport or too easy to fracture and ruin, and was becoming an everyday struggle that tempers and flashpoints often occurred between miners and engineers. What had made matters worse was that out of all of the facilities on the rigs, the medical bay was always top-notch and always serviced by the company that held the deeds to the platform. This was seen only as a way to not help the personnel, but to keep them working with minimal time off. The canteen was a barren, lifeless shell, with tables crammed together, so everyone was still clustered together, with a large rounded window giving a view of the starfield and asteroids. To say it was supposed to relieve stress and improve happiness was an ill statement. Many fracture points had seen staff threaten to be thrown out of them. Overseeing this mess was the appointed commander, whom had the luxury of their own cabin, away from the cramped conditions everyone else had to deal with. Most crews hated the overseer, seeing them as being an overbearing and out of touch with what was going on down in the mines or workhouses. And yet some crews managed to find a balance, even though tensions still simmered below. Haley Hopperwell sat reviewing the latest reports to filter across her desk. Reams of targets not met or underperforming quotas. The company had threatened to either remove, demote, replace, or transfer her position if the targets didn't pick up. The company could, however, try, but she knew these were just empty promises from a company that had no idea what life was like out here and what they had to put up with on a daily basis. Haley knew her crew. Her team was a fine one at that. Yes, tensions flared, but she dealt with it, having decided rather than oversee everything altogether, she would break it all down into teams with a head to serve as a go-between, someone everyone could trust and rely on to make sure the job and their time here ran as smoothly as possible. To that end, she had installed Tony Mason as lead and head of the engineering team, with Sarah Staton as her lead miner. Both were more than capable, and both commanded the loyalty and respect of those under them. And to their credit, there was hardly any frictions between the two teams, mainly due to a rolling roster time slot. While the miners worked, the engineers slept, and vice versa. That way, everything ran like clockwork. Haley shifted over a report from Sarah about a new cavern they were attempting to excavate, but the tools weren't good enough to get through the porous rock. She then spied a text communication between Sarah and Tony, with the engineer replying they were working on a new molecular compound tool which would shift and work around the rock. On the first few attempts, samples, the tool had melted through the rock, leaving only the mineral deposits behind. Yet it only worked on 2 sprays before either clogging and jamming or melting through the metal, rendering the tool useless, but headway was still being made. She trusted her 2 teams to get the job done and make headway, to hopefully shut the crybabies at the company up. And hopefully, maybe this new tool could be patented. Yet, it was more than likely, if it was, the companies would find more uses for it and increase the demand in targets. So perhaps it would be best to use and keep this device to themselves, even if others could have benefited from it. The lights in her office started to flicker again. She silently cursed. The old station was playing up, and she'd be damned if they had another breakdown. It had taken them the best part of an hour to just get the rig back up and running after they had just been hit by a series of blue pulsars, disrupting all electrical equipment and leading to a few scary moments. When the blue pulsars had hit, a mining team had been descending the shaft towards the lower levels and were left stranded on a swaying chained platform, dangling for over an hour. The platform itself was not designed to hold too much weight for a long period of time, and supporting 4 miners in heavy-duty spacesuits armed with mining equipment had started to strain the chains. That one was ready to break, and had the power not been restored, all 4 miners might very well have been lost. The engineering team had been locked in their cabins, and the life support system had for a time stopped recycling the air, leading to CO2 levels to quickly rise throughout the station, forcing the engineers to attempt to crawl out through the tight vents in the corridor, just to hope to be able to find out what was wrong. All the while, Haley had been trapped in her office, with no lights, a failing oxygen supply, and no way of communicating with anyone. So to have the lights flicker on her again gave her pause for thought. She gave a sigh of relief once it calmed down, returning to her reports, noticing a blip on her ship-to-rig communication system from a vessel she didn't recognize. Upon closer inspection, Haley brought up the ship's transponder frequency, the Delgatta. Tony, come in please, she said, calling into her communication device on her desk. Tony here, a gruff voice responded moments later. Did you get round to finishing repairs on the antenna array yet? Haley inquired. Jimmy's just got back in. Says give it 5 minutes to run its reboot sequence, and it should be good to go. Why? Tony asked. I think we're about to have guests, Haley added. If that's the case, send them into Dock 2. Dock 1's still a mess, and the air scrubbers are still misfiring. Last thing we need is to lose them before they can even step foot into this hellhole. Oh, by the way, Sarah sent a transmission up a few minutes ago. Says she needs to speak with you about the mines. Wouldn't say what, but sounds urgent, Tony replied. Thanks, Tony. I'll make it my next job. Oh, and tell her to stop worrying about those tools. We'll get them to her and the team soon. Looks like we're making headway on them, Tony said. I'm sure we'll all be glad to hear that, Haley added, before ending the line. She gave herself a minute to think about what Sarah and her team might have found down in the new area, but that little mystery could wait until the immediate problem was dealt with. She ran her fingers over the console station, looking for the communication array. Seeing that it was still displaying a reboot startup program, now sitting at 70%. Haley was thankful the internal communications ran on a different system to the external traffic, so maybe checking in with Sarah would see the percentage complete by the time she checked back. Thumbing her hand over the console, she patched through to Sarah. Haley to Sarah, come in please. It took a few moments, static greeting her, followed by a series of metal on rock and loud talking. Pipe down, will ya? Sarah shouted, before calming herself. Sorry, Haley. Go ahead. Everything all right down in the mines? Haley asked. Nothing a new set of tools we've been promised won't solve? Sarah spoke. Tony assures me the new tools will be en route within the next couple of days at best. Just hold on, Haley told her, trying to reassure her. I know, but the rock's really tough down here, and my guys are starting to get knocked, Sarah informed her. We're all doing the best we can, just hold on. Anyway, Tony says you've been wanting me to get in contact with you, saying it was urgent, Haley asked, wondering what it was. Best if you come take a look yourself. It's weird, Sarah added. Define weird. Pictograms, and what I can only describe as carvings, but it can't be. I'll send you a couple of pictures I got from the soot cam. Might be grainy, but see what you think, Sarah informed her. As the images appeared on Haley's screen, it was true as Sarah had said. The images, even though blurred and grainy, looked like carvings and pictures, but it didn't make sense at all. That's definitely weird. Are they all over the walls in a new mine? Most of them, but none in the upper 3 levels, Sarah replied. Keep me updated, but until the new tools arrive, see if you can find areas on the new level that don't have these pictures or carvings. I'll come take a look as soon as I've dealt with something up here, Haley told her. Ending the communication gave her more food for thought. How could there possibly be pictograms and carvings here in the asteroid belt? There wasn't even a planet here except Ceres, which was more of a dwarf moon than a planet itself. Her mind started processing. She remembered about old theories of a proposed body that should exist between Mars and Jupiter, but never had she put any stock in it. There wasn't enough mass in the belt to justify that line of reasoning, and yet she was being presented with this outcome. Returning to the percentage on the array gave her a momentary relief that she could push that puzzle to the side, if only for a few minutes. Setting the transponder to the Delgatta, she sent out her transmission. This is Mining Rig Platform 25 to Spaceship Delgatta. Come in, please. I repeat, Spaceship Delgatta. Come in, please. Moments seemed to pass as Haley waited for the response, before the crackling of static came through. Mining Rig 25. This is the Delgatta. We are in need of assistance. A crewman is severely injured and requires medical attention. I repeat, requires medical attention. Serena spoke. Her tone sounded shaken. Delgatta, You may use docking bay 2. Please define the injury, Haley asked, curious by what the stranger had said. Crewman attacked by unknown mechanical life form. Right foot is shattered and needs amputation. Serena spoke, her voice more nervous, almost as if she couldn't find the words at first. Come again, Delgatta. What do you mean, unknown mechanical life form? Is it still aboard? Haley asked, unsure what to make of the announcement, worry creeping in as to whether or not to let them land, if this creature was still aboard or not. No, creature is no longer aboard. Jettisoned into space, Serena answered. The words only calmed Haley, if only for a moment, knowing her crew would be safe if it came down to it. Her crew was top priority, not the Delgatta, but at least no threat seemed to exist. I'll have medical standing by. Again, use docking bay 2. Thank you, docking bay 2. Delgatta out. Whatever was going on, Haley had no clue, from the blue pulsars, strange carvings and pictograms to now mechanical life forms. This day was getting weirder by the second. But as soon as the injured crewman from the Delgatta was aboard, she would have a talk with their crew to get to the bottom of the mystery. Haley watched the monitor as the Delgatta came into land, locking into position with the docking bay she'd assigned to it. The medical officer, Scott Bolton, had overseen the removal of Rick, having been given help by both of the Delgatta's crew, 2 young women. What stood out to him, and to Haley, as she observed from the overseer's office, was that one of the 2 women was wearing a spacesuit which didn't match the standard and seemed to be more at home down in the mines. She'd seen enough to know the types, the bulkier frames, headlamps, and thicker fabrics, to know that something was amiss here. It was, however, the injury to the man which disturbed her the most. His right foot was indeed crushed, almost as if some force had been applied to it, squeezing it to almost rip it completely away from the bone. Whatever the outcome for the man was, it wasn't going to be pleasant. She was about ready to head down to greet the 2 strangers, when another blip appeared on her screen. Looking at the transponder identity, she gave a sigh of relief, seeing it was one of her own shuttles that had not long transferred a couple of miners to another platform for reassignment. She knew both of the pilots aboard the ship, Leon Anderman and Grant Hickerman. They had left in a now occupied docking bay 2, and it was now going to be a while until they could land. She opened up a communication with them. Leon, Grant, we have a slight problem down here at the moment. Docking bay 2 is in use and docking bay 1 is still out. Stay in orbit until we can get you down. She spoke, waiting for a response. When none came, she spoke the same warning again. Once more, she got nothing back. Hey Tony, I think something's wrong with Leon and Grant's communication relay. I can't get a response from them, and they're both in orbit. She spoke, having activated the relay for the engineer workhouse. That's good. Have them stay in orbit. Grant will understand. The guys are busy working on Bay 1 now. Should only be a few hours. They'll have enough fuel and oxygen supplies to last, Tony informed her. With that, she headed off to see and speak to her new arrivals, hoping to get a few answers to solve at least one mystery. She found the 2 strangers standing against the glass of the medical bay observation area. Serena had her hand pressed against the screen, Her tone and demeanour was that of worry and concern as Scott ran the biobed functions over Rick to find his vitals. Even now, it didn't look promising. Sarah stood apart from Serena, still taking in the sight, but more alert to the knowledge that Haley had entered the area. Hello, I'm Haley Hopperwell, Chief Overseer to Rig 25. To whom do I have the pleasure of welcoming here? She asked, extending a hand to both of them. Sarah took the opportunity to shake her hand. Name's Bryson. Sarah Bryson. These two people here helped rescue me from a fate I'd rather not remember, if I'm honest, but I guess you'll be wanting answers. Sarah answered as best she could. Well, it seems this day just keeps getting full of mysteries, Haley retorted, wondering if there was any more twists and turns the day would take before it was over with. Look, I really need to impress on you both that right now I need answers. Firstly, you say your friend was attacked by a mechanical life form, gesturing towards Rick. And now you're saying you were rescued by them, speaking directly to Sarah, whilst mentioning over towards Serena, whom hadn't yet looked away from Rick. I wish I could give you the answers you're looking for, but it's already been a hell of a day, Sarah mentioned, rubbing her temple. And it could get a while longer yet. Now, I let you both land, not only out of a courtesy, but because your friend needed help, so throw me a bone here, Haley asked, demanding answers to her question. You're not the only one who needs answers, Sarah. Did you know anything about those things we were transporting to your asteroid? Serena spoke, only looking away from Rick once she'd finished her line of question, her eyes trained on Sarah. I have no idea. I'm just as much in the dark as you are, Serena, Sarah answered, wondering if she might think she had something to do with them. Well, someone knows something, because we were told to collect 4 pods from Mars Jump Point and take them to the asteroid belt, namely to yours. We had no idea what was in them, Serena informed them. But they made their presence known from the moment we left, with knocking on doors and deleting security footage. It was only when I disturbed one that we knew about them, and we were lucky only 3 were active. The 4th was still in its pod, she added. All I can say is I was conducting my usual routine survey on the asteroid surface. I was on a routine route returning to my assigned area when I was hit by a blue pulse. I tried to escape by getting into a crater, but the pulse hit my thrusters, sending me off into space. When I came to, I was on the Delgatta, seeing Serena fighting for her life with one of those mechanical creatures. Trust us, you don't want to face one. Sarah recounted her own version. Hang on. A blue pulse. We got hit by one that sent all our electrical equipment offline, Haley confirmed. We have to get to your asteroid. The answers lay down there. Hey, Haley, did you tell Grant and Liam to hang tight? Tony spoke over the medical intercom. Yes, why? They're not slowing down or holding their approach, and they're coming in fast. Tony's voice was shaky, with a tint of nervousness about it. As Tony concluded, the station's warning system came online. Caution, collision imminent. Please evacuate the docking bays, sounding on a repeat. Liam? Grant? This is Haley. Respond, she requested over the headset. She tried again, but got no response. After the 3rd time, all 3 were starting to feel something was dangerously wrong. You don't suppose they ran across any of those creatures you jettisoned, do you? Sarah asked, fearing the worst. If that's the case, Serena began, before looking Haley straight in the eyes, her face a sign of clear fear and tension. You can't let them land. What? Why? Haley asked. It's a good bet one, if not more, of those creatures we encountered have got aboard that ship. And if they have, they weren't the friendly type. I think your people are radio silent because they're dead. If you want proof of that, look at his leg, and the red marks across Serena's neck, Sarah informed Haley, pointing between Rick and Serena. And even if you don't believe us, trust me, you will soon, because that ship isn't stopping, it's coming here, and it isn't slowing down. Sarah ended. Moments later, the station was rocked as everyone was thrown from where they stood, as they were hurled sideways and across the room, as the rig was impacted by something. Screaming echoed all over the rig for a few moments before going eerily quiet, as they all struggled to get to their feet, their visions blurred from the smoke and possible concussions, their ears ringing, the voices of each other muffled. They managed to stagger to their feet, looking around, checking that they were all okay. Scott, to his credit, had tightly secured Rick in place, stopping him from falling off the biobed. Unfortunately, he had crashed into a panel and was now sporting a cut across his head. They looked around before they heard the unmistakable sound of metallic footfall and clanking of hands against metal, as a metallic hand firstly rose up the ladder leading to the docking bay, followed by the voidless black obsidian face with a pair of red glowing eyes looking around before locking onto them.